Rare Gem Productions proudly presents Entrepreneurially Thinking. Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, changing the way you view new ventures and activating your entrepreneurial mindset, empowering you to create new pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Hi, guys. It's Christy Maxfield and
Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore, BioSTL. Hey, guys.
Hi. Welcome back to Entrepreneurially Thinking. Today, really excited to have...
We had a good conversation.
Oh, my God. Betsy Blancett-Nacrelli. Mm-hmm. She is the founder of Collections by Joya.
Yes.
I'm wearing her earrings right now as we speak. Mm-hmm. And she took us on this amazing journey from the start of her career in furniture product development through sourcing an amazing book of designs that she does herself.
Yeah. You'll hear about how she grew up in business with her family.
Yeah.
Went from car dealers to furniture making to jewelry making,
yes.
right?
And now owns a brand that you can find on the Home Shopping Network.
Nordstrom's.
In Nordstrom. And direct to you as the consumer, she's got an amazing Instagram and Facebook presence that you're not going to want to miss. So we'll get to all that in a second. But first, want to thank our founding sponsors, CET and BioSTL, without whom we couldn't continue to bring amazing stories of the entrepreneurs and the businesses they've built.
Yes.
So thank you to them, and thank you to you. Keep
for
listening.
Yes.
And sharing.
Yeah.
So what should we do?
Stay listening.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know about all the great things they are up to, including the BioSTL STEM, Entrepreneur Inclusion Initiative, and Fundamentals program for early stage would-be entrepreneurs in the life sciences in St. Louis. You can learn more about all of BioSTL's programs by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
Purpose First Advisors is proud to support the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Purpose First works with entrepreneurs and the organizations that support them to accelerate business formation, scaling, and transformational growth. For more information about how to work with Purpose First Advisors on business model validation, financial modeling, core messaging, or other growth and profitability strategies, visit purposefirstadvisors.com.
Hi, my name is Betsy Blancett-Nacrelli, and I am the founder and CEO of Collections by Joya here in St. Louis, Missouri. Thinking entrepreneurially means being scrappy, problem solver, and adaptable to any situation.
Today, joining us is Betsy Blancett-Nacrelli.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Got it.
And for our listeners, they know that sometimes I struggle with names, so I am delighted to have gotten hers correct. She is the founder of Collections by Joya and has taken her lifelong passion for women's empowerment and 14 years in international retail and design to create a company right here in St. Louis that sources amazing designs from all over the world and is inspired from every place from Istanbul to Bali and points in between. So since 2016, Betsy has been running Joya. And as we were noting when we first sat down, I'm wearing some Joya. I'm feeling the joy of the Joya. And we're so glad you could join us today.
Yes. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. And thanks for inviting me. This is wonderful.
Oh, thank you for being with us.
So you just happen to be wearing our very best-selling earrings.
Oh.
Okay, so I got into crystals in the last year or so. Like, seriously, I've always picked up rocks. Don't get me wrong. I'm a rock hound.
And she has them in her pockets.
I do. I carry them all around. And then I found your site, and I actually wanted like a stud, but they didn't have them available. So we went back and forth. And she's like, I'm going to send you these. I was like, great, fabulous.
They're
and now
really
I
cute.
am also convinced that labradorite actually makes me a better communicator. I've now decided that when wearing them on my head as opposed to in my pockets, I'm actually a better person.
Well, there is something to that because labradorite is a power stone. And if you wear it close to your neck or head, it's supposed to bring you balance and protection. So it keeps you even and balanced.
Yeah.
So that's why it's good to wear labradorite earrings.
Yes. So
I like it because they're cute.
If you see them in my head every single day, know it's because Christy's like, oh, some shit's going to come out of my mouth if I don't wear these earrings.
Got to get me some
She's
ballots.
wearing purple, but she's wearing Labradorite. She's wearing green, but she's wearing Labradorite. Is all. And you told me, it's a stone. It goes with everything.
It goes
I'm like,
with
it does.
everything.
That's why I like it.
Yes.
The Labradorite's my favorite stone.
You have a zebra scarf on.
I'm all about the animals right now.
I love it.
Not
I'm
even
like,
animal print, but like an actual animal on a thing.
she's like, who needs a
I've
print?
moved on from animal print to actual animals.
An
entire. If it doesn't have an
From now
entire
on-
animal on it, I'm not wearing it.
Okay, and then like a year from now, she's gonna walk in with an actual
If you see
zebra
that, then you'll know
over
I've
her
completely
shoulders.
lost it.
And she's like, "Here, this is Frank. Nice to meet you, Frank. This is my pet zebra."
I was not kidding. Apparently,
I was not kidding. I have graduated. Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
So tell us,
Tell us about yourself. Are you from St. Louis or?
I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. Born and raised, and my husband is from St. Louis. I had the opportunity to live in St. Louis briefly, almost 20 years ago now, when I was in my previous profession. And I loved St. Louis. I loved the city. I made amazing friends here, and so I always wanted to get back to St. Louis. And so I was lucky enough to be able to move back for a position, and that's when I met my husband, and now the rest is history. So we're here.
So you said previous position, and what type of line of work and what industry?
So I spent 15 years in product development and design in the furniture industry. I worked for a couple of high-end retailers, and I was in charge of their product development, design, and sourcing. And so that job took me overseas frequently, and I had this amazing opportunity to travel the world while working in factories and working with vendors. And when I would be traveling, I would always bring back jewelry from my trips because it was easy to travel with. It was
I was
small.
going to say, like, what better way to say and remember a place than a little bauble?
Exactly.
And it goes through customs really easy.
Exactly. It's easy to
Packs
pack.
well.
Exactly. There are a lot of positives to it.
Yes.
Clearly, we've used our own jewelry buying excuse of, I need to remember this time here.
Exactly. It's nice to have a memory. It always, when you wear a ring or a pair of earrings from one of your travels, you remember that trip. And it got to the point I was bringing back jewelry from every trip, and I loved the artistry and the craftsmanship in some of these places like Bali and in India. And when I would come back, my friends and my colleagues here in the States would say, "Oh, the next time you go to Bali, bring me one of these bracelets, bring me one of these earrings."
You're taking orders now.
Exactly. So it was in March of 2015. I was on a trip to Bali, Indonesia, for work, and I had literally a list of 20 orders. That my friends had placed, and it was
accommodating.
It was a light bulb moment, and I was like, I think I might have a business here.
Right.
Well, yeah, especially if you've added on a little margin for yourself.
At that point, I certainly wasn't. But I thought, wait a minute,
But
I
the
think
thought
we have a
crossed your
business.
mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were doing import, but not export.
Exactly. It was hand carrying gifts and baubles, and you know, it started as a passion project. I knew I always wanted to have my own business. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs.
That's what I was going to ask you. So your mom and dad, they were both entrepreneurs. What were they doing?
Yes. So I had a 3-generation old car dealership. My great grandfather started in 1932.
Wow.
It passed on to my grandfather and then my father, and my entire family was involved in the business. In
So
a
if we
small
go
town
to Louisville,
America,
will we be able to buy a car from y'all?
my dad actually retired back in 2002.
So did you work in the business as a kid?
Of course. When I was little, I think mostly just to keep me occupied, they would have me do everything from like counting the nuts and the bolts and the in the repair area.
But you had a summer job. Nobody had to go. You had your summer job there,
exactly.
right?
I think they were mostly just trying to get me out of their hair, but I did. I grew up there. I mean, I lived there, and
you have siblings?
I don't. I'm an only child.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they poured all of it into
Yes.
And so I think it was just kind of growing up and like living and eating and breathing that small business. And, you know, I had this wonderful opportunity to have a career that taught me a lot about different elements of the business, from the retail side of things to the product development, the supply chain management. I kind of got to see every element of that business, of corporate business in my previous life.
So this was in the furniture business,
Yes.
right? So where did you go to undergrad? Did you go to undergrad in Kentucky?
I did. I went to Bellarmine University in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a really small school. And I actually studied economics. And when I started at our house, that was the furniture company, the first company I worked for. I started in the sales management side. And quickly, the owner of the company thought that I had a good eye for the design elements. You know, he would come into the stores and I would give feedback on, I think this sofa would be great in this fabric, etc. And he started taking me on buying trips. And that's how I got into the buying and the product development side.
And all the great places to go.
Exactly. I mean, I could never, ever repay the opportunities that I had, and I'm so incredibly thankful.
So I was going to say, going to India and all these other places where the design is just, the architecture, first of all, is just outstanding. And then when you look at products there, so that's where you got your design eye from, right?
Exactly. I mean, I think travel is the number one thing that influences me and my designs. I think you'll find that a lot of our designs we do all the design work here in our little studio in Dogtown, but they're really inspired by travel, by antiques. We try to keep an authenticity to each of the pieces that we design.
But, I think what's also, really cool when people travel and go abroad and go to other cultures, because I always say, if you get out of your bubble, you build tolerance for other cultures,
and genuine
for other
curiosity
places.
and interest.
Right. So being able to identify opportunities for design or new designs, and then take it from furniture to jewelry. Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was, it really gave me a tremendous amount of perspective. I think travel alone teaches you more than anything.
Yes.
That experience. And so that's actually where we developed the idea of having a platform of giving back within our business model.
So talk to us about after you were importing without a profit, when did you decide you're like, okay, I think I'm going to do this?
Yeah,
and
you had
do
that
it on my
aha
own.
moment, but there's a lot of steps between aha moment of demand and actually being able to fill that demand with supply.
Or even going from, I'm just going to bring stuff back and sell it to, I'm going to create it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah, walk us through that, and we'll come back to your business model piece, but we'd love to understand that more.
Absolutely. So I am one of these people that when I get an idea, it's like full steam ahead, fast forward, and I'm going to make it happen as quickly as possible.
Okay.
And so from the idea stage, we said, okay, let's just kind of test this need and test this business model, and we'll start a small website, and we'll do a little Instagram and do direct to consumer online.
Now, how long ago was this?
So that was in, I believe, August of 2015. So it was 6 months after we came up with the idea. I did my first line of designs of the initial collection. I think we had maybe 10 earrings and 15 bracelets and 10 necklaces. It was small.
So you did the design?
I did.
Did you do the actual creation of the jewelry?
No. So I actually do all the design work still to this day in St. Louis.
Okay.
Then I send it out to our makers in India and in Indonesia.
Wow.
And they make everything for us. And then I actually visit the factory. I look at all the designs, make sure everything is approved, and start the next round of designing.
So you knew what your skill was. It wasn't, I'm forging metal.
You're not a jeweler.
Right, exactly. I'm not a jeweler. I knew that, based on timing, it would take me too long to learn how to do that.
Right.
Whereas I knew I had these sources. I was lucky enough to have these sources in place. Why not use that to our advantage to be able to kind of kickstart the business quickly? And really, it was kind of like a beta testing time frame.
Well, and that's what I caught on to. You were like, we tested the business model small.
Yes,
we put
very
some stuff
small.
out there to see if anybody was going to buy what we're selling.
Does that sound like
It
something
sounds
we
like
always
something
tell?
I say all the dang time. And people look at me like,
What do you mean?
what do you mean I don't want to go buy a whole inventory and have my basement full? What do you mean I'm not going to print business cards and logo and do a website
And why do I
design
have to talk to
and
customers?
pre-order? And
Why do I need to talk to them? My grandmother loves it.
Welcome to the learning portion of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. But so obviously the test worked.
Yeah.
Yes. So we, of course, tested with friends and family, and we tested it with, just an online presence as well as Instagram. And we started posting on Instagram, and we would do the hashtags, fashion for good, support local, by women for women. And within a couple of weeks, we learned a couple of things. Number one, people don't organically come to your website.
Really?
Like, people turn their websites on and they think, oh, I'm just going to wait for the traffic to appear.
Oh, they totally think that. Dun, dun,
Guess
dun.
what? That doesn't happen.
And building a website is not the same as optimizing it for
Right.
search engines.
It's a completely different
Two totally
side of the
different
business.
things,
Yeah.
and you have to pay for both.
Exactly.
Like, P.S. That doesn't just get thrown in when you make the website.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we would have like 7 unique visitors the first day and 6 of them were me, So we learned really quickly that it was going to be a grind trying to like build organic traffic to our website if we were going to be retail direct online. But then the second thing that we learned was that there was a lot of demand out there from stores looking for unique jewelry. I mean, jewelry is a very saturated market. There's a lot of jewelry out there.
Yeah.
But within the first week or two of having our Instagram live, stores were reaching out to us and saying, do you sell wholesale? I have a store in Charleston. I have a store in Dallas. I'd love to buy your line. We hadn't really thought of that.
Were these large retailers or boutique?
Yeah, small
type?
boutique independent retailers. And so I'm all about learning and adapting because I think that's a big part of being successful and being able to stay the course. And so I was like, okay, so we didn't originally plan to go straight into wholesale, but that's really the best way to get our name out there, to get our brand recognized.
And that's where the money is, right?
Exactly.
I mean, what you were
That's where the
testing
volume
is
is.
where's the pain point, right?
Exactly.
The pain point is Christy can buy jewelry, and she does, many places, right? But the demand is then who's going to attract my dollar?
Exactly.
And the demand from the wholesale side was people needed things to attract Christy and her dollar.
Exactly.
As well as I did actually buy my baubles directly from Joya. You can too. No, but
collectionsbyjoya.com.
You figured out where the pain point was and who was gonna
And boutique type, because I like to shop at boutique stores,
yes,
right?
You do.
So when I travel, I like to find, in little, neighborhoods where these guys that's what they're doing, is sourcing from individuals like yourself.
Exactly.
So that's pretty cool that they found you.
Yes, it was amazing. It was so flattering. It was so incredible. And it was eye-opening to me because I'd worked in the larger corporate level of things. And for me to see that also retail owners and independent retailers are sourcing not only at trade shows, but they're sourcing online now. They're sourcing on Etsy. They're sourcing on Instagram. And I just saw that as like low-hanging fruit.
Social media.
Yeah, it's all about that. So.
And I think your background and skills lends itself really nicely to understanding, like you were talking about, supply chain, you know, how to get product through the supply chain, especially you're talking international.
Right. Yeah.
And then to customers, you know, through what everybody is using. Instead of brick and mortar, you're going through social media to do it.
Exactly.
So.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about that and just more about how Betsy got
Just
from point
more.
A to B. Yes, just more.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know about all the great resources they provide, including the Square One Ignite and Bootcamp programs, as well as the online startup toolkit. The toolkit has videos, articles, and other materials to help you build your business. For more information about CET's programs, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continued support, CET, we say thank you.
My name is Tiffany Wesley. I'm the founder of Vibes, and entrepreneurially thinking means being bold, fearless, and confident.
So the more, right? We're coming back to continue the conversation.
And it's
about
not me more. It's more about Joya.
Yes, it's more about Joya. And so, that more, you tested the market and you found the demand was in wholesale. By the time I found you, I want to say less than a year ago, you were clearly also completely rocking the direct to consumer because that's like totally happening in my world, right? But before we jump ahead in how you made that transition, at what point were you like, wow, I need to do this full time? Like, how long did that take?
I would say it took about a year to a year and a half.
Okay.
So you were still traveling and doing the furniture thing.
I was still working.
And designing all the jewelry.
Yes. And really just... I wouldn't say the jewelry was a side hustle, but we were just working around the clock on everything.
Yeah, that's a side hustle.
Yeah. And so...
Truly. But what's really cool is that while you were overseas shopping for the furniture, you could be doing the side trips.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was able to really maximize my time and do both. I think for me, what the the transition time was when there was so much demand for the jewelry that I realized, that whole feed the beast mentality, which is like, go where the money is, go where the growth is, go where, you can just feel the momentum.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of momentum. We were selling to, at this point, I'd say 150 or so stores.
Wow.
They were reordering regularly, which was, again, proving that business model and that demand again, that was the inventory was turning, the inventory was working, the look was working. And we were starting to build our direct-to-consumer piece. And so when I realized that we had kind of an omni-channel demand going, and that if I could really dedicate all of my time to it, how much more could we expand this?
Now, how were you doing direct to consumer? Were you doing it online, or you were building a brick and mortar?
Oh, honey, her
online.
Instagram.
On the Insta?
Her IG feed.
It was all about the Instagram and Facebook advertising and online. So everything was through our online website, direct to consumer.
You weren't looking at building anything at that point.
It's funny because we had an opportunity in that first year to open a retail location,
which is so tempting.
It's so tempting, right? Because at that point, you don't have the online traffic. The temptation is there because you're guaranteed to have a certain number of people coming through the doors. It was in a high traffic area. I looked at it, I considered it, and I decided that in my particular business model, what I was trying to do, the kind of brand I was trying to grow, if I had an independent brick and mortar, it was going to become like a ball and chain to me, and I was going to be tied to that desk.
And your overhead is going to soar.
And your overhead soars. And I thought, I really want to be able to maximize these other channels of business, and I'm not going to be able to grow and scale as fast as I want if I had done that.
Well, you said feed the beast, right? And then it's which beast? A retail beast is very different than a wholesale beast, which is different than a direct-to-consumer beast.
And our wholesale business was really, really churning and really growing at that point. And so we decided to put a lot of eggs in that basket. We decided to do trade shows, and that's when we really started to scale the wholesale side of the business.
Wow. So today you actually, at your studio here in St. Louis, have an order getting ready to go to the Home Shopping Network, HSN.
Yes, we have 2 huge pallets of jewelry that are about to ship to HSN.
So like that to me is just another
You've
level.
reached, absolutely. You're on HSN?
Yeah. I go on every 4 or 6 weeks.
So like growing up, HSN was kind of like the joke. Like, you got that off a Home Shopping Network. Right. I'm dating myself, right? But my understanding now is HSN is like, that's one of the premier channels that you want to be part of and affiliated with.
My bank account reflects that because of my husband.
Well, you know.
Okay, so,
Al, I'm just putting you on notice that she's talking about your watches, my friend.
Like, oh my gosh. So how did you guys get into that side of the business?
So this
is channel, I'm sorry.
This is what I consider to be my piece of luck. You know, they say so much of it is hard work.
Opportunity meeting preparedness.
Yes. So it was our very first day of our very first trade show in Atlanta. And we had our booth set up. We were ready to go. I had no idea what to expect.
This is a jewelry trade show?
It's called Home and Gift. And so there are every category from furniture to gift to jewelry.
People.
That's where all the boutique stores go. But also, as I learned very quickly, national retailers. So, I mean, that morning, a group of women walked into our booth and they said, "Oh, this is really beautiful stuff." And you know, I was telling them about me and our brand, and they said, "Well, we're from the Home Shopping Network."
I know you.
It's just a small little retail operation.
Maybe you've heard of it.
You know, we've only launched a few careers and millionaires.
And you're like, sure.
Yeah, I was like, really, prove it. Give me a card.
Give me a card.
So, of course, then I think that's what every day of every trade show is going to be, right? But within 2 weeks, they flew me to Florida to their home office. And within 5 months, we launched on Home Shopping Network. And my first show was in January of that following year.
Wow. And that was what year?
2017.
So in 2 years, you're landing
Which is
now
crazy.
on HSN.
And
which could have either been a raving success or have killed you, either from volume.
Right.
I mean, think about it. You go on HSN, it's sort of like when Oprah decides you're one of her favorite things.
Right.
Precisely.
You're either going to fly or drop out of the sky like a rock.
Or take a whole bunch of drugs to make it.
I mean,
to keep up with stuff.
Whatever your method of coping is.
But like, what a way to cut your teeth on a big retailer,
Hell
right?
yeah.
So it was, there was a lot of growing pains with that. Obviously, I had to make sure. And before we even did the trade shows, I tested and vetted all of our supply chain to make sure my factories would be able to keep up with growth. So I wasn't worried about that.
So smart.
But all the processes, all of the inspections and the quality assurance and the packaging details and the barcodes and UPC compliance.
So
and
how many
EDI.
people were in your organization at this time?
Oh, just me. So at that
But
point,
she's full time, so don't worry about it at this.
at that point, I was sitting in the window of my office in my house, and that's where we were still shipping everything out of. Now, mind you, I had a wonderful group of people around me. I had friends that would freelance part-time. I had my husband. I had all of our, friends and colleagues and people that I'd worked with in my past life were starting to come to me and saying, hey, like, I believe in what you're doing. I'll help out.
It takes a village.
And it totally takes a village.
Yep.
The first order we shipped out of my front yard of my house. We were packing pallets and my neighbors were thinking, what is going on here? And
pallet's a pretty big shipment.
It's a pretty big shipment. Yeah, you get a FedEx freight truck that pulls up in your drive.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, we had to have the order picked up by 5 p.m. And that day at noon, I had every one of my friend's 87-year-old mother, her husband, my husband's
Beer and
friend,
pizza and jewelry,
his dog. I had dogs and babies and everybody in my life there packing this order to get it out the door because it was such a quick turn. And so it was painful, but at the same time, then I went on air and we sold out and it was an amazing experience.
Oh my gosh,
so
that's amazing.
It was awesome.
So how many people now?
So now we have a team of 12.
Woo!
Wow.
We have an office, a studio in Dogtown. I'm no longer sitting in my front of my house by myself.
No FedEx trucks pulling up.
Exactly. Which that really helped a lot with the work-life balance. I'm still trying to achieve the work-life balance, but just having the boxes and the crinkle paper out of my house.
There is no such thing. When
There
people
is
talk
no
about,
thing.
It's just a blend.
Exactly.
there's no
And
such thing
sometimes
as
the
work-life
blend is heavier
balance.
on work, and sometimes the blend is heavier on family. But
And
it's
sometimes
a
it's
blend.
heavy on wine. What the
Yes.
hell?
Whatever you need to blend into that mimosa. to
Most
make
times
it through
it's
the
heavy
day.
on wine in our world. There you go. That's for sure. But yes, we've grown and we've been able to scale the business while growing Home Shopping Network. And I'm thankful that it was a great experience to have early on in our career because now we have those policies and those processes in place. So when we met Nordstrom, for instance, and the buyer said, we have a lot of processes we have to follow. And I said, well, we work with HSN. And she goes, oh, if you can work with them, you can work with anyone. And so it really did teach us early on.
And this is something I tell people all the time. Like when I'm talking to a solo entrepreneur about documenting their process and they look at me like I'm crazy because they're like, it's me. How come I have to write down what I do for me? And I'm like, yeah, but one day you don't want it to be you.
Exactly.
So you got to write it down for the day when it's not you and you have to train somebody else. Do you really want to sit down then and write everything
and
you
not
ever
only
do
that,
out?
Exactly.
But if you go to a large whatever corporation that you're selling to or whatever, they're going to have processes.
Right. I mean, whether you're scaling up staff or scaling up sales.
Right.
Somebody needs you to have written it down and figured it out.
Exactly.
This is our policy forward. This is how we do this.
Compliance.
So this is why people, when you're on your front lawn by yourself with the dogs and the cats and the friends and the family, you write it down.
Oh my
gosh. How do you
gosh.
source talent? Because I'm thinking like, you're an economics major with a furniture buying background who decided to design her own jewelry and launch a wholesale, then direct to consumer line. And you said that your mentor essentially was really who saw in you that you had a good eye. So how do you find those people on your team who you're like, wow, I brought you in to do this, but now you're totally really great at this other thing?
Yeah, I've been incredibly lucky to be able to surround myself with wonderful people throughout this whole journey. I could have never grown my business if I didn't have an amazing team around me. Right now, it's a combination of people that I've worked with in the past. I have several team members from both of my previous positions that are working with me now again, which is a wonderful feeling because they believed in what I was trying to achieve. We knew how to work together. I knew their strengths and talents. And so we've brought a lot of previous colleagues in, and then tend to work with people that I find like a connection to. I've met some wonderful people through working and doing pop-up events and doing events with women's networking groups here in town.
I was just reading this really cool article, and it was talking about, I forgot the company, but they don't hire for actually the skills that they need for the company. They hire for not only the fit, but they're not really quantity. Yeah. You know, can you fit in this environment?
Right.
Can you think through problems? That kind of thing.
Yes.
So I think those are really, really good hires, because you can teach people what you want them to do. But, you
Absolutely.
know, the thing is, will they stay with you if they're, you know, can they think through an issue?
Solve problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, I look more for like the drive, the adaptability, all of those elements and characteristics. I'm not looking for someone who has a design degree. You know, I'm looking for someone, because especially when you're a startup business, everybody wears every hat.
Absolutely.
And talk about like, I mean, adaptability is like my number one. Like one of my employees, she's been with me for about a year and a half now, almost 2 years, and she has 5 children. Whoa. So when she comes into the office, even if it's the craziest day, and sometimes I joke, I'm like, I'm only hiring people with 5 kids, because this is like a breeze for her. She's like, oh, I could like multitasking. Holy moly. I've never seen someone multitask like Katie. And because it's like, oh, this is nothing that we can throw at her will take her by surprise. So
tell us, what's next? What's on the horizon? I'm so eager to learn. I mean, you're doing fabulous. I mean, you're on HSN. You're taking a company in 4 years, 4
just
years,
over 4. Yeah.
to a national platform, a huge brand. What's next?
Well, we launched with Nordstrom about a year ago.
That's a huge next.
One of my favorite stores.
So we've been growing that business. I know that's like one of my pie in the sky customers.
I've only ever heard that voice when she talks about food. I didn't know Nordstrom did that to you as well. It's good to know.
I always tell for my company, I said the customer service that Nordstrom
That's true.
offers,
You do always say that.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, and that's what you want to emulate.
Exactly, and that's what I actually modeled our customer service after. If we have a customer that she has a pair of earrings, if she loses an earring at a party and she emails us, I will send her a new pair of earrings.
Yeah, I mean, my own experience, they didn't have what I needed, and we found a solution that I now wear
That's how
pretty
you have
much every
people
day.
coming back all the time. So now you're in Nordstrom's.
So we launched with them. Our goal is to grow that business and get more in-store placement there. And I'm always really trying to scale the business in new directions and partner with new national retailers. We just had a huge trade show in New York last week, and we met my other pie in the sky customer goal. And so hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be launching with another huge retailer.
Oh my gosh.
So look for those updates.
That is fantastic. I mean, because I don't know how jewelry businesses go, but it's certainly, you had the right skills, you had the right connections, you knew how to move your business along steadily, and to be getting into networks
Very
that's
exciting.
really promoting you. So that's great.
And you've also done it, you have alluded to this earlier, with a give back model.
Yes.
So what is that?
So when I started,
that's the Emmys.
when I started,
or the Oscars. Won't they give you gift bags?
No, not a gift bag model, a give back model.
Oh, give bag. I thought you said gift bag.
You're too funny.
What are you going to the Oscars?
No.
that would be fun though.
That's all.
It would be fun. That's another level where she can make more money to give back.
There you go. Okay. Yes, talk to us about the give back model.
So when I started the brand, I knew when I started my own business, I wanted to have a platform of giving back. So we really built our whole model on a by women, for women platform.
Okay.
So we're women owned. We're all women team. And then I work with women artisans to make our product.
Oh.
And then we also give back to women's charities with every purchase as well. So it's a full circle by women, for men, women platform. It's really like the keystone of everything that we do. When I partner with other business owners, whether it's, in printing or graphic design or anything, I always work with women-owned businesses. And last year alone, we donated to 34 different women's charities.
I was going to ask you, how many charities were you supporting? That's
it was 34 last year. We'll see where we end up this year. But, that's one of the things that keeps driving me. And I now feel, because we have regular charities that we work with, that now rely on these donations that we send in. So I feel that responsibility to continue to scale and drive my business so that I can continue to give back more. more as well.
And you're living your values is what it sounds like to me. Like you're making, we often talk about the intentionality required to do the things you care about in the world, whether that's working with women, sourcing from owners of color, building your business in the community where you want to see economic development occur.
But that's all about, to me, capitalism.
But it also gets baked in from the beginning.
Capitalism is about, yes, you making money, but how do you impact?
Right.
You know,
conscious consumerism, conscious capitalism.
Yes, you're right. Because it's not the traditional way.
Not just rape and pillage to make some cash and then go away and atone for your sins.
I love that. Conscious capitalism. Absolutely. Yes.
I love that it's baked in from the beginning because a lot of times we also talk to entrepreneurs who are like, well, when I'm successful, I can.
Right.
Versus I'm going to build the company this way organically and as I go. So we always have way more to talk about than we have time to. So as you're just thinking about what you learned, you're glad you knew going in, or you wish you knew then what you know now, what would you share with the aspiring entrepreneur who says, I'm trying to decide whether or not to make this leap?
I'm trying to get to Bali.
That being able to travel really drives me a lot and continue to do that. I would say the thing that for me, I think has been the differentiator is really staying the course and being persistent and dealing with rejection and just continuing to stay focused on the end goal and knowing that what you have, like the model that you have, can be successful and not giving up. I love that. A lot of people say like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. You got in Nordstrom. You're so lucky. And yes, we are. We're extremely thankful. But I sent probably 90 or 100 emails to Nordstrom before I got that one email back.
And that's what people need to know.
You have to be the squeaky wheel. You have to be your own advocate for your own brand. And I think a lot of people will say, well, I didn't hear back from them. And so I'm done. Or take it personally. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. I'm going to blow up your email. I'm going to send you as many emails as possible. Because, what's the worst thing? They just, don't respond.
Persistence.
So I think persistence and not losing sight of that end goal and, believing in yourself and the business is really, because I think, there are a lot of creative and talented people out there, and there's a customer for every product. And I think the difference is the people that do not give up and keep pushing through in those times of darkness or doubt, because I have them too. A lot of times that's where the wine comes in.
So we're going to keep on keeping on.
That would be like my one thing.
That's awesome. Great.
Thank you so much. Remind our listeners again where they can find your beautiful jewelry.
So you can shop us online direct at collectionsbyjoya.com. You can also shop us locally in St. Louis and retailers around the city, as well as Nordstrom.com and HSN.com.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you, Betsy, for making time in your schedule to be with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Yes.
Changing the way you view new ventures, unlocking your creativity and innovation, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit entrepreneuriallythinking.com to listen to all your favorite episodes and learn more about our guests, hosts, and sponsors. Feeling inspired? Be sure to share your thoughts, questions, and stories in the comments section. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. The best way to show love is to share and subscribe. Let everybody know that you're entrepreneurially thinking.